Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is 12 noon, high noon, and we would like to welcome you to the second webinar in this series brought to you by the Chamber of Commerce, City of Grand Prairie, and County of Grand Prairie. Together, we are the Business Resiliency Task Force, trying to make some sense of what everyone is going through, and we are very pleased to have a number of wonderful resources in our community that we can trust with also trying to make sense of what everyone is going through right now. The Business Resiliency Task Force has a number of links on our websites for information, which is changing daily. We're trying to keep up, folks, trying to answer your questions, trying to find out answers for you from a number of different resources, including the Alberta Chambers of Commerce and Canadian Chamber of Commerce, as well as the various levels of government. Today we have from the ATB Entrepreneur Center, very pleased to have Roselle and Ola with us here today, and I'll turn it over to them shortly. We'd like to let you know that this webinar is being recorded for the reason of we would like to share it later for those that could not attend, and also for information for reference. We ask you to please mute your mic until we get to the Q&A, and if you do have a question later on or a comment, if you could either type it into the comment section or indicate in the comment section that you would like to ask a question. So without any further ado, I'll let Roselle and Ola maybe do a little brief introduction of themselves and then get right into the presentation. Thank you, ladies.
That's great. Thanks, Tom. I'd just like to start by thanking the Chamber for doing this. In a crisis like we're in right now, it's really important to keep people connected. And I love that we're having such interactive sort of things going on. So kudos to the Chamber and the County of Grand Prairie and the City of Grand Prairie for organizing these webinars. And thank you to everyone out there who's joining us today as well. So as Tom said, I'm the director of the Entrepreneur Center, and Ola will be joining me today. And we're just going to talk a little bit about what banks are doing to respond to the COVID crisis. I lead the Entrepreneur Center, and Ola is one of our business advisors, and we have a whole team of people at the Entrepreneur Center who can help. For those of you who don't know, the Entrepreneur Center is a great resource for entrepreneurs, whether you're a client of ATBs or not. We offer things like weekly workshops where we have lawyers, accountants, bookkeepers, advice on social media, sales, HR. Basically, we try and offer anything that we feel that will help an entrepreneur grow or help their business in any way. There's a lot of value, certainly in the presentations that are at our workshops, but I would say that there's sometimes even more value in just connecting with other entrepreneurs at these workshops and doing a bit of networking, listening to other people, some of their challenges. You can just make connections, and we've seen some connections be made that can really help your business. We also have a strategist. So for those of you who don't know, we have Ricardo, and he is our strategist at the EC. He's not a banker. He's not there to sell any products or anything like that. He is there to help customers with business plans, cash flow projections. We realize sometimes being an entrepreneur can be lonely and you don't have somebody to bounce your ideas off of, or maybe somebody who will be really objective in giving you some advice on your ideas. And so he's there to just talk people through. He has templates he uses to help people through business plans and projections and marketing strategies and things like that, because some of these things can be overwhelming for entrepreneurs. So Ricardo is a great resource, and he is working through this crisis. So if anybody is in need of Ricardo's services, they're certainly still available. And one of the things we do a little different at the Entrepreneur Center is if you are coming in for more banking needs, we often we'll have you sit with a personal and business advisor at the same time. Traditionally, it's been, you know, you go into a bank, you sit with a business advisor or a personal one, but we've found that when we have both people in the room, we can really help the entrepreneur in a lot bigger way, because sometimes the personal expert will pick up on things that maybe the business expert wouldn't pick up on, just because of the expertise. So that's another thing we do to help entrepreneurs. Our workshops have been canceled due to the COVID crisis. However, we are working on getting those virtually, so stay tuned, because we too will have some workshops. All right. Ola, can you flip the slide? All right. So how are the banks dealing with COVID-19? So I'm going to talk about a couple of things. I'm going to touch on the financial relief programs for, you know, being offered to personal clients and business clients. We'll talk a little bit about some of the branch closures, and we'll chat a little bit about digital banking and what banks are doing in the way of that. So, and this is not just ATB, this is banks in general that I'm going to touch on here. So I did some research, and it looks like customers can defer payments on things like mortgages and loans for anywhere from 1 to 6 months. And sometimes you need approvals if you want to go longer than a couple of months. Some banks can do the 6 months right off the bat. And generally what they're asking for is, you know, has your income been affected in some way? And one of the qualifiers seems to be that you have to be in good standing. So if you're behind on some payments, maybe they can't offer you the relief program, but I would encourage you to still talk to your bank if that's the case. As far as lines of credit and credit cards go, there is a bit of a relief component in there already, because you can always just make interest-only payments on these products. But banks have put deferrals on these as well, so you can defer the interest. The thing with this is that if you defer the interest at the end of the deferral period, the bank is going to turn to you and say you owe the interest for the past 2 months or 6 months or whatever it is. So my recommendation would be, if at all possible, keep up with your interest on your lines of credit and your MasterCards. Otherwise, you know, if your interest was $100 a month at the end of 6 months, you're going to have to pay $600, which could be challenging for some people. So, however, some people need the relief now, and that option is there if you need it. As far as the business relief goes, you know, it looks a lot like this, the personal relief with payment deferrals and interest deferrals. We're also seeing some institutions waiving the setup fees for cash management solutions. So if you're a business that typically dealt with cash, for example, or you need more terminals, they're waiving some of these fees. And even if you're a business that has these merchant terminals, but you're closed right now, some of these institutions are waiving the fees that you'd normally have to pay just to have the machines while your business is closed. So definitely, if you're in that situation, reach out to your provider and see what's available to you. Banks are also offering working capital to existing clients. So this might be in the form of a loan, a line of credit, or it could simply be an overdraft on your business account that they allow you to go into. And everyone seems to have a little bit of a different swing on what repayment looks like. So again, I'd reach out to your provider. Some are saying, you know, you have access to this capital for 90 days, but we expect it to be fully paid in 90 days. And so that's a conversation with your banker to say, okay, is that feasible? What does this look like? What's the plan? You know, there's government funding that's coming out as well. You know, maybe you can use one in conjunction with the other. So a lot of ifs, but certainly a lot of options that are out there to help. Branch closures is something we're seeing. So, you know, some branches are closed, some are operating on reduced hours. They're certainly following extra cleaning procedures. Social distancing is being followed in the branches that are open. And they're really promoting the digital channels. So if you don't have to go to the bank, if you can do it over the phone, if you can do it online, banks all across the board are really encouraging people to do that. Don't go into the branch unless you have to. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about ATB's response to the COVID crisis. So we too are offering payment deferrals. We're offering a little longer than what I'm seeing from some of the other FIs, where we're going up to 6 months. We want clients to be in good standing to take advantage of the program. However, if you're not in good standing, if there's like a payment that's behind or something, please reach out anyway, because we are making exceptions. We're owned by the government of Alberta. At the end of the day, we want to help entrepreneurs. And so please reach out if there's anything we can do to make an exception to that rule. We've been doing it. So we don't want anybody to feel that they're alone. Reach out and talk about your situation. As far as business relief goes, Ola's going to get into that in a lot more detail, but I'll touch on some of the relief for customers that would have like about 100,000 or less in borrowing with us. And we're looking at payment deferrals as well for these clients on loans, operating lines, lines of credit, and access to capital as well. So, you know, we can allow your account to be overdrawn if you qualify. And again, we're looking for, you know, are you up to date with us? Do we have your financial statements that we should have? Things like that. We try and make the process as easy as possible, but we want to make sure we have everything in line that we need as well. As far as branch closures go, ATB is following a bit of a phased approach to branch closures. We have some that are closed and were closed from the beginning, and this could have been because, you know, of a COVID outbreak, or, well, obviously a COVID outbreak, that maybe somebody was in the branch, and we found out later that they were in fact COVID positive. So we had to just shut the branches down and send the team members home to work. Some have been open for processing. So the branch itself has been closed, but team members have still been going in. And those team members have been processing things, making sure the bank machines are full, calling clients, because we've had a ton of clients calling for deferrals. And so not just us, many FIs are asking you to fill out a form online if you're looking for a deferral, and then we just try and call everybody back rather than having you wait hours on the phone. And some branches have been appointment only, and this is even for like teller type transactions. So effective Monday, all ATB branches across the province will be appointment only. So the branch will be closed. If there's anything that you need to do, there is a sign on the door of the branch with a phone number that you can call, and you can reach the branch directly through that phone number to set up an appointment for what it is you want to do. If it's something that can be fulfilled through, you know, over the phone, they will rather do it over the phone. They're trying to minimize the amount of people that are coming into the branch. However, if that's the only thing that can be done, they will arrange for that. And there are tutorials that we have that will walk people through online banking to do what they need as well. So just trying to make it as safe as possible for our team members and for clients. We're certainly making sure that people, you know, bank machines are stocked, so people, if they need access to cash. But, you know, then we hear of some businesses that aren't accepting cash and prefer that you pay with cards. So, you know, keeping mindful that the banking system is still strong. People don't need to kind of take all kinds of cash, because you might not be able to do much with it right now. So that's a little bit about what we've been doing. As far as the telephone and online banking goes, like we have a telephone banking center at our Calgary campus, and very early on, they gave laptops to all the team members there, and they're all working from home now, so they're 100% remote. So just keeping the safety of everyone in mind, so they're still able to handle those calls, but from home, which is a lot safer. So now I'm going to pass it off to Ola, who's going to chat a little bit more about what we're doing for our business customers.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rosal. As introduced earlier, I'm Ola. I'm a manager of entrepreneurship. Please bear with me here because I'm using two screens. So one screen is the slides and one screen is the other slide here. So for business clients, for small business owners, ATB is basically, so this was an immediate business continuity measure that ATB decided to take to help small business clients with sustaining their business for the COVID-19 impact. So for total borrowings of less than $100,000, if you had borrowings or if you have borrowings of less than $100,000 with ATB, this includes term loans and operating lines of credit, you could possibly qualify for 6 months deferral on principal and interest payments. And for MasterCards less than $100,000, you could also qualify possibly for, so terms and conditions apply, and I'll get to that later on in the coming slides. So you could qualify for 6 months deferral on minimum payments. So you still have the choice to make one-time payments during the course of the deferral. So just because the balance is still going to accumulate and the interest is going to accrue. And one thing to keep in mind is that if you have loan protection or insurance on your term loan or any form of loan, be advised that the insurance premiums will still be charged. So that's something to keep in mind. We're not able to defer those because we don't have full control on them. And then for borrowings greater than $100,000, so just because the risk exposure is more, we have decided that we would extend 3 months of deferral on principal and interest payments on those loans. And then for MasterCards, 3 months deferral on, for MasterCards over $100,000, we would extend 3 months deferral on minimum payments. So you can still make, payments, one-time payments during the course of the deferral. So for MasterCards, over the deferral period, interest will still accrue to on your outstanding MasterCard balance at your current interest rate. So at the end of the period, your minimum payments will resume, and this accrued interest will be added on your outstanding balance. And then for revolving lines of credit, the accrued interest will be added to your balance at the end of the deferral period. So you just have to pay that at that time. And then for term loans, the outstanding balance will be due before the amortization ends. So ATB has created a flexibility here for clients where you also have the option to increase payments instead of having that balloon payment at the end, or you can extend amortization on certain loan types. The one loan you can extend amortization on is the Canada Small Business Financing Loan. And this is just because of how the loan is quite complex in that the financial institution and the government are together on the loan. So the financial institution doesn't have full control on that loan. So we're not able to extend amortization on them. Okay, and then, so immediate impact of the crisis are expected to be reduced cash flow, tightening liquidity, and an inability to pay operating expenses and payroll. So ATB decided that this working capital would basically apply to small businesses. For more established businesses, you're subject to an increment. So it might be, you could possibly qualify for more than $10,000. But then the working capital, if you decide to take on the $10,000 working capital, you have to pay it after 90 days. So if you choose to take it, no credit application is needed for this. It will just be an overdraft on your business account. And then after 90 days, you'll be required to pay back. It's just ATB's contribution to ensure that businesses are still able to sustain and operate during the crisis. So certain conditions apply, and the Canada Emergency Business Account is also another account that is in the works right now. Just one financial institution has rolled it out so far, but ATB and other financial institutions are working on coming up with the details in regards to that Canada Emergency Business Account. And this is the $40,000 loan everyone has been talking about that the government has provided for small businesses. We'll get to that in details in the coming slides here. Okay, so for eligibility, so this is just a general idea. So this is not all of it. So it depends on what kind of products you have with your financial institution. There might be more conditions applied, or but this is just to give you a basic idea of what we're looking for, who we could basically extend this working capital, or who could qualify for the deferrals. So your business must have been viable before COVID-19 to qualify for the deferral. If you had to shut your doors due to COVID-19, or you're operating partly, this would apply to you. As far as your business was profitable before the crisis occurred, and your business meets certain conditions, then you could possibly qualify for the customer relief program. And then for some conditions, and these conditions are in regards to accessing credit. So this is what we look at when we're assessing repayment, or if an individual has been has been good on the financial part, your financial performance, just on the banking section. So no loan delinquencies before March 1st, 2020. So you want to have made sure that all your loans were paid off and not delinquent before March 1st, 2020. No MasterCard delinquencies as well. So that would apply to just MasterCard products. No non-sufficient funds on your account. So you want to make sure that you didn't write a check and then it came back. And then covenants are currently in compliance. So you want to make sure that if there were covenants when you were completing a loan application, the covenants were not breached. And annual reviews haven't expired. So that basically means an annual review is when your relationship manager asks you for financial statements to review your credit. So when somebody gets an operating line of credit at a financial institution, an annual review is conducted every year to ensure that they still qualify for that line of credit. So if your relationship manager had reached out to you asking for your financial statements to ensure that you still should have access to that credit and you did not give it to them at the time it was requested, then it's basically expired and it doesn't really show a good sign about the business or the business owner. Okay. And then the business credit availability program. So this was rolled out by the government as part of the fiscal policy to help small businesses during these uncertain times. So the first is the Canada Emergency Business Account, CEBA. So it's rolled out through your primary financial institution. And the reason is because, again, they're able to assess your credit repayment because they have your records before March 1st, 2020. And the second is the Small Medium Enterprise Loan and Guarantee Program, which is rolled out through BDC and EDC. And I'll be getting to that in a short time here. Businesses seeking support through the Business Credit Availability Program should contact their financial institutions with whom they have a pre-existing relationship with first, so that the financial institutions can assess the client's financial request because they have access to it again. If the needs of the client exceed the level of support that the financial institution is able to provide, then the financial institution will work alongside with BDC or EDC to access additional resources the government has provided under the Business Credit Availability Program. So BDC is also a crown corporation, and EDC is basically Export Development Canada. And I'll get to that here in a moment. We have another slide telling what BDC is offering, what EDC is offering. So we'll get to that in details here too. I'm just gonna get to the Canada Emergency Business Account here. So just one financial institution has rolled this out so far. And so I'd said that this was in the works for ATB and other financial institutions as well. I believe they're just trying to formalize legalities and to ensure that, you know, everything is accurate for extending this credit, because the government, well, we're also waiting on the federal government as well to finalize it. So one financial institution has rolled it up so far, and my understanding is that it's going to be similar to what the other banks are going to be offering. So just to give you an idea of what to expect for this $40,000 loan, firstly, it's going to be available through your primary financial institution. So if you've had an operating business account for your primary financial institution on or before March 1st, then you want to reach out to them in regards to this loan. Some financial institutions might not have it rolled out yet because they're waiting on details, like I said earlier. But I'll get to the details here on the one financial institution that we're going to be going with here because they'll be similar eventually. So you're going to get access to up to $40,000 in working capital to sustain the business's operating activities or payroll. And then zero interest for the first year. So for the first year, you're not going to be charged interest. And then in the second year and going forward, interest to be charged. Excuse me. And then one thing to keep in mind is that, or one good thing about this $40,000 loan is that if you're able to make a full payment of $30,000 on or before December 31st, 2022, I'm say 2020, if you're able to make a full repayment of $30,000 on or before December 31st, 2022, then the $10,000 will be forgiven, which is amazing. But then if you're not able to make that $30,000 full repayment by December 31st, 2022, that's okay. It can be converted into a 3-year term loan, and then you'll be charged the interest rate of 5%. So that way they've made it flexible for you, and they've made it easier, and you have a longer time to pay off the rest of the balance owing on the amount. And then, so one clause that the government of Canada had on this particular loan was that this particular loan would only apply to businesses that paid out salaries between $50,000 to $1 million in 2019. So if your payroll was below $50,000 in 2019 that you had paid out to your employees, you won't qualify for this particular loan. And if your payroll was over $1 million in 2019, you won't also qualify for this loan. So it has to be between $50,000 and $1 million payroll remuneration for your T4 that you declare to the government. Yeah, so just going to go to the next slide here. Okay, and then this slide is the one that is about BDC. So this is the one that, this is another one everyone has been asking about. What's with BDC and EDC? It's the Small Medium Enterprise Loan and Guarantee Program. So participating private sectors have basically committed to working with BDC and EDC to find solutions for credit-worthy clients. So we're still assessing credit, just like BDC is going to be assessing credit. But then the thing is, they want you to go through your financial institution for this first, because your financial institution, your primary financial institution, has access to your to details about your financial performance for your business and how you've been with your bank accounts and whether NSFs or not, or if you have breached any covenants. So you just want to make sure that you've been good so far as your financial performance goes. So co-lending with financial institutions, up to $6.25 million is available for lending. Commercial interest rates will be charged. It's a 10-year repayment period for that particular loan. And it's also available through your financial institution, your primary financial institution, like I said earlier. So the biggest thing here is that if a client doesn't have sufficient access to credit after they've come to their primary financial institution, BDC and EDC will be working with that financial institution to ensure that they're able to extend credit to the person that isn't able to qualify under the normal financial institution criteria. Okay, so EDC is basically Export Development of Canada, and they are mainly for international business-related operations. So they'll be working closely with BDC to fulfill credit needs. So if you're a client that basically deals internationally with most of your, like if you have exports or imports and so on and so forth, that's something that would apply to you. So you will still want to go to your primary financial institution first before approaching EDC, because your primary financial institution will be working alongside with EDC to ensure that you've been assessed well and you're able to pay back and all the T's are crossed, basically. EDC is also number two, ATB's number 2 partner in Alberta. So we have a very good relationship with them, as well as BDC. So I will end off the presentation here. I just want to leave this with most of the entrepreneurs or all the entrepreneurs on here. Thank you for listening. And I would like to say, like, I know that it's hard right now and we're all in this together. We're all going through this together. I just want you to know that the bankers are also doing as much as they can right now, because we're receiving high volume of calls. So it would be great if you can be patient with us as well, because we feel where you're coming from as well. I'd like to say, try to focus your energy on what you can control. Revise your business plan and cash flow projections if you haven't done that yet. It's very vital, because the economic environment has changed. So if you, the first thing is to accept that the economic environment has changed. If your business plan and your cash flow projections say your cash flow projections were to make $200,000 last year, right? This year, how is it going to be? Nobody really knows what the next 3 months is going to be like. So you want to make sure that you revised it. If you're now doing deliveries or whatnot, you want to make sure you have revised that plan to a feasible or something that is more realistic when it comes to the numbers. So without further ado, I will hand it off to my director here to close us off.
Thanks, Ola.
I echo what Ola said. If there's one thing we're hearing constantly right now, it's revisit those business plans. You know, think about what happens if this situation lasts until July. What happens if there's another phase in September? I know there's a lot of questions and still a lot of uncertainty, but it's good to think about this stuff. You know, the government, the banks, there's a lot of resources and programs and relief. And you know, I think a lot of business will persevere and make it through with that help, and some won't. So please, like, revisit, come talk to us or any of the resources that are here in our community that might be able to help. But we are still open for business. So, you know, of course, the COVID deferrals and helping people through this whole thing is taking a lot of time. But we are still, you know, there's some businesses who are being affected in different ways, and we've still been doing new applications for new things. So we're certainly still open for business in that way. But yeah, that's pretty much all we've got. And stay healthy and good luck.
All right, so we thank you, Ola and Roselle. A lot of really good information. What is the number one question you folks are getting right now? I'm curious.
I've been dealing with a fair bit of clients, and honestly, I think the number one question is, what can you do for me now? When I talk to clients, I can hear the fear in their voice and the anxiety at the beginning of the call. And then by the time I've talked to, you know, your next mortgage payment is October 16th, you can just hear the sigh of relief in their voice, and they can go on to worry about other things. So most of what I've been hearing is, I need something and I need it now. And we're just one piece of it. So, you know, I've talked to business clients as well who are getting some relief from their landlords. Maybe not 100% relief, but some, which is helping. And so, you know, reaching out and being able to defer, you know, property taxes, and reaching out and being able to defer utilities, like all those little pieces are helping. So it's use all your resources. And I've recommended this website page for the COVID Resiliency, because there's a lot of links there that can put clients in the right spot of where they can get support.
It has to be a true, oh, sorry, Ola, go ahead.
No worries, go ahead, after you.
I was just going to say that it must be a team effort to try and keep track of all the changes happening daily, and the new the programs, and trying to stay on top of things. I know not only with your bank, ATB, but with all the financial institutions, I imagine there's a lot of really good communication between them all.
Absolutely. And there's been so much coming that normally, you know, ATB would say, okay, here's what is everything being offered. And we were just told, go find it. It's up to all of you. There is so much happening right now. We all need to work together. And so we have like Google platforms where we can all go in and update when things change, because things are moving so fast that, you know, they said, don't print anything. It's going to change maybe hourly, you know, when this first started coming out. So we're seeing a little bit more. This week was as close to whatever normal looks like as I've seen since this broke out. There was a little bit more stability. But when it first happened, like we designated Ricardo on our team to put together a spreadsheet that we could use to direct clients, and he was keeping up with that. And so as things stabilize a little bit more, I think we're going to be better able to stay on top of it. But when this first came out, like they put out a call to team members, you know, within ATB that we just need your help all weekend. And so I was making calls, I was reaching out, I was getting people in Lethbridge, Banff, you know, Edmonton, Calgary. It was any Albertan in the province that you can reach out to and talk to and provide some relief is what we needed to do. So we, like all banks, tried to react very quickly to offer programs. And I foresee them, you know, changing, because we're going to have to adapt however this goes, and nobody really knows.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ola, did you have something to add?
Yes, one popular question I've been getting is ATB still open for business for when it comes to loans? Like, are we still giving out loans to small businesses? And the answer to that is yes. So one thing we've always taken into consideration, even before the economic impacts of COVID-19 started, was the economic environment of the business. So that's something we've always assessed. But now that the economic environment is even more obvious in regards to COVID-19, that's definitely something we're looking even more into. So if at all you're looking to start a business right now, you want to make sure that it's a business that is sustainable through such a time, right? Because we want to make sure that we're setting up the clients for success, and we don't want to just give you a loan that, you know, you're not able to eventually repay because of the environment. So we're assessing everything, and we're still very open for business. If you feel like your business can survive through this time, this is definitely something that we're still open to do.
And you folks are in a little bit of a different situation, because as an entrepreneur center, you do work with clients from all financial institutions with different backgrounds, and that might maybe give you a little different perspective on this whole thing as to what people are going through.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And one thing that ATB, I feel like that I've noticed that ATB has over most of the other financial institutions is the fact that we take pride in the relationships that we build with our clients. We're ensuring that that's okay. So
Sorry, that's my dog. My wife got home.
That's fine. So we're trying to make sure that we're setting you up for success as well, and you know, you're sustainable throughout this time eventually.
Okay, we do have a couple of questions. One is there any forgiveness from the credit card companies or banks, such as the federal government is doing with this $40,000 loan and the $10,000 forgiveness?
For right now, okay, yeah, there we go. For right now, there is none, not for credit cards. The credit card department, like MasterCard, is a different entity from the bank. So we don't have full control on how that would eventually play out. We basically try to work with them to see what's sustainable for clients to repay or whatnot at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, I think too, like the only forgiveness I've seen is in the area of like merchant terminals, you know, waiving some fees while businesses are closed. But I haven't seen any forgiveness with you owe what you owe, and we'll help you get through with payments and things like that. But at the end of the day, you owe what you owe. So we haven't seen anything like that as of yet.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience? Just checking the chat feature. I haven't seen any. Everyone's very shy today, or tired, exhausted.
Probably a bit of both. I think too, like if I can just add, like the banks, and I think all of them, this would be true. Like we certainly have our guidelines that we're asked to work within, but like, as I said in the presentation, if your scenario doesn't fit in the guidelines, you know, it does the banks no good to have all these homes, you know, kind of thing. Like they are trying to help their clients get through. So please, if you don't fall into the guidelines, please have conversations with your bank anyway.
One thing I know we've seen a lot of questions about are people that run their own business, maybe a sole proprietor and that sort of thing. And there's concern about, are we eligible for any of this stuff, or how do we keep going? How do we keep the lights on? And when it comes to even wage subsidies and everything like that, there's that's one thing I've seen a lot of questions about, and I'm sure you have too.
That's for sure. If at all you feel like if you're a new business and you don't have financial statements records to ensure that, or to help the bank see that you're a viable business before COVID-19, or even BDC or EDC, you want to look into what the government is offering at the moment, just to make sure that you're able to sustain, or maybe look into revamping your business so that it goes in term. This goes back to what I was saying about revamping your business plan, because even the existing businesses have to revamp their business plan. So as a new business owner, you want to look into revamping your business plan to coincide with what's going on in during this time, but you want to take advantage of the government relief program. The government has made wage subsidies so that you can keep your employees employed. They've made that possible or available for people that, and there's even self-employed. There's an emergency relief program for self-employed individuals as well. So that's something you can also take advantage of. EI. There's a lot of details about that on Canada's website, and we can definitely send you that link if you'd like.
Absolutely. I'm sure everybody would appreciate that. There was a question about which bank has opted out of the CEBA loans. I wasn't sure if that was what you said, or you said there was one bank that has rolled out some of this stuff.
Yes, that was what I said. There's just one bank that has rolled it out so far. No one has opted out.
Right.
The government had said has put this program out there for most financial institutions to take advantage, to extend them to small business owners. No financial institution has opted out of that right now. They're just in the works right now. I believe they're just trying to formalize legalities and documents in regards to the details of the loan. Just one bank has rolled it out so far.
Okay. What are the local phone numbers for local branches so people can make appointments? Sometimes calling into the call center can be a little challenging, shall we say.
No doubt. So the biggest thing is, if you have, sorry, Rosal, I was going to take, if you have a relationship manager or someone that looks after your business at whatever financial institution you deal with, you want to reach out to them first if you have their personal number or email, and then they'll get back to you as soon as they can. For local numbers for ATB, Rosal might want to speak to that. But for me and my clients are reaching out to me personally via email or phone number, and I'll advise you do the same if you have a business advisor that you deal with at any financial institution.
Yeah, so if you have a relationship, definitely call that person. I know that the phone numbers were going to be posted on posters at all the branches. They will be posted online as well. I was just reaching out to some of the people in the branch here because we have multiple lines in the branch, and the branch manager had to pick the one that they felt would be the best for clients to call through because there's multiple purposes for them. So I'm trying to get that now. Because yeah, it can be, and we don't want to direct you to a call center where you're going to be waiting. We'd rather you be able to just get right to the branch.
No worries, we can get that information. If there are anybody else who would like to maybe make a comment or share a question, checking. Oh, there's a good link in the chat section from Teresa, a resource contact for feedback. Thank you, Teresa, for sharing that with us.
Hi, Tom. Yes, I did share that. So Ola had mentioned that much like the other FIs, where you have the ability to log on and enter your first and last name, your best contact information, including your email, phone number, etc., and kind of the general topic as to what you're trying to inquire about. So this is also an avenue that you can explore if you, do find difficulties finding the time or don't want to be waiting on hold or whatnot. You fill this out, and we will be calling customers back.
It must be exhausting. You're basically working around the clock trying to keep track of this sort of thing. I imagine you've spoken with some of your colleagues from other institutions as well, and maybe what's kind of the feedback you're getting from them as far as trying to keep up with all this?
People are tired. You can see it in their face when you're on video chats and stuff like that. I think a lot of it that keeps people going is everyone's kind of in it together. And the pace that we had for that first little bit has slowed down a little bit, which is helping. And, we're trying to be very conscious of team members' wellness as well. So encouraging team members, we know you might be working into the evening. You're working from home, so it's hard to get away sometimes. And there's so many clients in need that you just want to reach out and help them. But it's important that you take your breaks. You try and get a walk in if you can. You know, make sure you take a lunch break and don't just work right through. Even though we're working from home, we're having virtual check-ins where every day we'll connect and just share what we've dealt with during the day. So it's really been uplifting because, you know, sometimes that's our link to to our outside of our home kind of thing. So there's been a really big focus on, you know, physical wellness, mental wellness during all this, and just being there for each other.
Another question here, what if they have contacted their representative and they do not have the guidelines for the $40,000 grant? I guess, are there other places that they can find out that information?
So like I said earlier, like in the presentation, it's been rolled out by one financial institution so far, and the other financial institutions are basically working on rolling it out. So in the coming weeks here, you'll be hearing about it. I'll just say maybe exercise some patience, just so that they're able to figure out what the details are, because the bankers also have to learn about it to ensure they're giving you accurate details about it. So I'd say exercise some patience. It's going to be similar to what I shared with you today in regards to the other financial institution that had rolled it out. So you can prepare yourself for as to whether you qualify or not. You can just use that guideline as to whether you qualify or not, basically. But yeah, I'll just say exercise patience with them. Yeah.
I guess that's the biggest thing, is that people need that help, you know, as soon as possible. But at the same time, you can't offer that help unless it's accurate and it's up to date and it is the most factual. And so there's a little bit of give and take there that has to happen with, you know, on both sides, even though right now people are under a tremendous amount of pressure, and it's totally understandable, you know, some of the frustration and the panic right now. And, you know, I think we really appreciate all of the financial institutions and what they're going through in trying to help their clients and trying to provide the most up-to-date and the most accurate information.
Correct. And I would say you can also take advantage of the working capital loans your banks are extending to you. Like I said earlier, ATB is extending working capital loans as temporary overdrafts for the next 90 days. And they're rolled that out as a business continuity measure to make sure that, because they knew that businesses would have tightened liquidity. I mean, if you're closed, you're not able to make sales. So they made that $10,000 available for now, just to reduce the risk and the, basically the risk for whoever is going to have to pay back, right? And then once the Canada Emergency Business Account rolls out through your financial institution, then you can take advantage of that.
Excellent.
I think, Tom,
go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, you were saying before about like sole proprietors, and, you know, some of these programs don't seem to fit within their wheelhouse to be able to provide some relief. And I think it's a time to really be creative sometimes, because, you know, I was talking to a client who owns a small vending machine company, you know, having trouble getting supplies, can't get relief because he doesn't fit in the guidelines that have been set out. And so, you know, when we had a conversation, we looked at deferring some of his personal things, like mortgages and stuff like that, to help with some of the business side right now. So some of it is just, you know, thinking outside of the box. You know, yes, it might be the business and we can't defer some of that stuff, but maybe we can defer some of your personal stuff so it can help balance things out and stuff like that. So it's really like, I would encourage entrepreneurs, you're not alone. Talk to somebody, and especially your banker. Like, they know the solutions that are being available from the government, from the banks. And so just have a conversation and we can look at the whole picture.
I guess communication is so important right now, more important than ever. And everyone needs to try and lean on each other a little bit for advice and direction and a little bit of help. So Roselle did post the phone number for the Northview ATB for booking appointments. It's there in the chat, as well as the Entrepreneur Center. The phone numbers are listed. Thank you all. Thank you, Roselle. Thank you, Ola, for your presentation and just sharing the information. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate the support, and we appreciate what everyone's going through, and there's so many of you that are on both sides that are needing the help, and there are some that are trying to provide that help, and we are all in this together, and we will get through this together. So again, thank you to Ola and Roselle. We will be doing another webinar. It'll be next Thursday because Friday is Good Friday. Remember, we still have to go through Easter. Yay. But it'll be next Thursday at noon, and we will feature Carsey Wallen from MNP. She will be providing information from the MNP perspective. So look forward to those links on our website and on our social media. And if you're on Facebook, be sure to support local. Love local GP, the hashtag. Keep supporting those businesses out there. If you have a favorite business that you're dealing with, or you just want to give them a plug, please do so. And might win yourself a chamber check down the road, and then you'll be able to go back and support even more. We're going to keep this thing rolling. Thank you to everyone. Keep smiling. Have a good weekend, and we're all in this together. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.